Hello guys, and welcome to this short discussion video about restoration druids and whether to stack mastery and how well does mastery compare to every other stat. In my previous videos where I did druid guides, I mentioned that mastery is not the best stat to be using for raids, that it can be below crit and versatility. But after doing quite a few raids, quite a few Nightfall raids, I'm doing a video basically to describe that you can stack mastery and achieve really good results, really good healing results. So first of all, what is mastery? Mastery basically increases your healing by 5% for each hot that you have on that target. So because it specifically says that specific target, it means they need to have as many hots as you can for everyone basically, which is easily achievable in 5-man scenarios, where you can have where you can run germination and have 2 rejuvenations on every target. You can have life bloom, then you can have scenario ward as well. So mastery is literally the best stat you can do. It's as good or even better than intellect in 5-man scenarios. But ever since I started doing Nighthold mythic dungeons, and I've noticed actually the first week that Nighthold was released, I noticed that this is every fight seems to be stacked up. People seem to be clumped up, and there's not too much movement. And basically, Spring Blossoms became the go-to talent to be used in Nighthold. And I'm talking mainly about mythic content here, because if stacking mastery for heroics, normals, where there's not enough healing to be done, mastery is not going to do too well. Cultivation is not going to do too well. Because there's just not enough healing. Even in mythics, if you are over healing it, anything above 4 healers, to be honest, in any of the mythic encounters, is going to over heal, and cultivation is not going to be that great. But right now, if you are not over healing a fight, if you're doing a progression fight, basically every boss except Trilliax, maybe Spellblade, actually, or mainly Trilliax and Gul'dan, is where you wouldn't use Spring Blossom. So that's basically, and you can and even for those bosses you can use Spring Blossom. Once you start using Spring Blossom, once you start using Germination, mastery becomes really good, because that's an additional hot that you can place on a raid member. Once you can place that additional hot, it becomes really good, and it's, of course, it's based on your own stats. I'm just gonna show you some stats from myself, but first I just wanna go over just the Spring Blossoms and the way Efflorescence actually works. Efflorescence heals 3 targets every 2 seconds. And once you get Spring Blossom, it adds an additional hot that basically heals for 6 seconds. The fun part is that Efflorescence heals for 2 seconds and applies a buff for 3 targets for 6 seconds, which is called Spring Blossom. But basically, you can have multiple people with this Spring Blossom buff. And from my own investigation and using some of the tools available online, which I'll link to the description below, I found out that basically I have 70% uptime of 2 stacks on people, and that's for the healing that I do. Basically, all the healing that comes from me, 70% of the time, those people that are being healed have 2 hots on them. And once you have 2 hots on them, at least 2, it's at least 2 hots. Once you have 2 hots on, mastery becomes really strong. Right now, I'm actually doing a mastery build to do follow-up Nighthold bosses. I'm going through Tychondrius, and I'm doing a mastery build because I'm using Germination there. So I have 2 rejuvenations running on all the priority targets. And actually using, I'll go through the tools as well, using tools like Twig It by Tordy, a spreadsheet where you can see what values you get. Actually using by Twig It, you can see some of my player stats here. Is that like crit, I only have 15% crit, which is appalling, because basically I've got a lot of better item level gear which has mastery and haste on it, so I can't really, there's no good way for me to gain crit at the moment. I have 27% haste, which is quite a lot, and I have 23% mastery, which is really big for a raid druid. And even with those stats and multiple scenarios, you can see my stat weights here. Stat weights crit at the moment is actually better than intellect, 1.6, 1.7 with no trank, 1.6, which is because I have so little crit. I need to fix that. It probably won't affect you because you probably won't have that low crit as me. But you can see here Mastery 1 and Mastery 2. let's look at mastery too, because that means you have 2 HUDs applied. I get 1.16 and 1.12 without trank. So basically, mastery is the... Don't look at haste, HBCT, because that's not taking into account the mana consumption. Mana is going to be an issue unless there's a fight that lasted 2 minutes, like something like Chronomatic Anomaly. Just don't look at that at all, because mana is an issue for Resto Druids. But with mastery, with 2 applications, mastery becomes the best. And that applies for nearly every fight in Nighthold. Because I was using, there's also another tool to check out your mastery uptime. This is a spreadsheet for my mastery uptime for Tychondrius. I actually haven't killed the boss, I got him to 9%. But you can see there, you can see here that mastery stacks weighted by healing done is that I get 75% of 2 stacks and 50% of even 3 stacks. So basically, I'm getting a huge amount of healing from mastery. Actually using things like Leaf's RESTO DRUID stat weights, which is a link description as well, which is a weak core, which basically tells you what's your best stat based on an encounter that you do. So from encounter to encounter, it tells you what's the best. From using that, I found out that mastery is my key stat for nearly all of the fights. For Tychondrius, it was actually above intellect. A crit obviously is going to go a lot for me because I have very little crit. But if I even out crit to something around 20%, mastery is still gonna be really good. And because of how Nighthold works, mastery, stacking mastery in a mythic environment is definitely viable. It's definitely viable, and especially if you can maintain those hot uptimes. You can use these tools that I mentioned. Twig It by Torty is really great to see what kind of stacks you're doing. Using pawn add-on to actually estimate if an item is an upgrade for you. But this video is basically to show that right now, for a lot of the Nighthold mythic content, I would be stacking a lot. Mastery is the #1 stat. The minute the people you're overhealing, if you can't maintain enough stacks and if you can't maintain enough hots on a person, and if you don't pick Spring Blossoms Germination, if you go for Inner Peace, mastery becomes way worse. So the minute you start using Inner Peace, just basically get rid of a lot of your mastery. But that's not going to happen for a lot of the fights. So for Nighthold, I do recommend you to try out this mastery build. And I guess that's the whole video. Thank you for listening, guys. And if this was any help, please leave a comment below and subscribe if you like the channel. It really helps me out a lot. Thank you, guys.